Hi, my name is Jamie Tomey, and I am pleased to welcome you to the Evanston Bound Tour series, brought to you by Artist Bookhouse. Each week we get to talk to some amazing book artists and writers, letterpress printers, and paper makers. It's such a good time. I hope you enjoy this episode. Oh, hi, everybody. My name is Jamie Tomey, and I am with Artist Bookhouse. And I am so excited about today's tour because we actually have a library lair that we're visiting today here in Evanston, just on the other side of town from where I sit. Betsy Bird is joining us. She is a librarian at Evanston Public Library, and I am going to read her bio right now. So, hi, Betsy.
Hi.
Hi. Okay. Miss Bird was born in Kalamazoo, Michigan, which is a town that's not too big, not too small, not too fast, and not too slow. As a kid, she was incredibly shy. She doesn't think she ever said more than 5 words at school on a given day. Wow, that is so not the Betsy that I know. She wasn't good at sports, and she wasn't exactly the best artist in the world, but there was one thing she could do really well. She read books like crazy. She read comic strips and novels and comic books and picture books and magazines and pretty much anything she could get her hands on. She wrote stories too, but had a hard time finishing them. Got older and stopped writing stories. She became a librarian because she got to work with books all day, every day. And we are so lucky that you made that choice. I'm just saying. She got over being shy as she grew up and got to work at the best children's room in New York City, the Children's Center at 42nd Street. There she worked alongside the real Winnie the Pooh and met all kinds of famous children's authors and illustrators. One day, the illustrator Brandon Dorman, he does all the Goosebumps covers, oh, creepy, asked if Ms. Bird would write a book with him. So they wrote The Great Dance Party together. And now Ms. Bird lives here in Evanston and works at Evanston Public Library. Welcome, welcome. Yay, I'm so happy you're here. You're welcome. This sort of mentions that you became a librarian so you could work with books every day, but how did that work for you? How did you come to librarianship?
Oh, I resisted it. Like it was as hard as I humanly could. It was very easy to try to resist. As a kid, I was like, librarianship is boring because you think of people with glasses and their hair up and, maybe a turtleneck and that, whatever, boring. So but I was the kid who organized alphabetically all the books in my house. Oh my gosh, I made a system with the VHS tapes because you remember they came with little stickers, and then people could check them back and forth. I was the kid who got her National Geographic started doing subject heading lists for fun, just in case I happened to need to do a report on capuchin monkeys, which, fun fact, I never did. So I did not want to be a librarian.
But you knew where to find it.
I knew exactly where to find it, should it come up, which it did not. And then when I went to school, I decided to kind of hedge my bets. So I was an English major and an art major because I was going to be a photographer. That was going to be the cool job I was going to do. And quickly learned I'm a terrible photographer. Not terrible, but just not great. And so finally decided, all right, I will go to library school, but I'm going to be a conservator. I'm going to conserve books, and that is what I'm going to do. And I came home, and my husband one day said, "You've put your coffee cup on your book on how to conserve books." And I was like, "It's a sign!" And a kid's book class on a lark to fulfill a credit. And it was like a little lightning bolt from the sky hit me, and I was like, "This is what I meant to do," and so I did.
Oh my gosh! So it really came about naturally, even if you resisted it. It came about naturally. And I want to talk a little bit about the conservator piece of it. Where did you get your undergrad?
I got my undergrad at the college. Well, undergrad was Earlham College in Richmond, Indiana, home of recorded jazz. They will tell you. Is it true? Not sure, but it was a Quaker college, and they had a nice English program. And then I got my graduate degree, my library degree at the College of St. Kate's up in Minnesota, St. Paul. So.
Okay. So did you have like bookbinding classes and paper conservation classes, and you just weren't feeling it, or was it just kind of a
okay? So it was a combination of things. We did have some of those classes. The person who would teach them was sometimes there and then sometimes just gone for a semester. And if I think I got sort of the impression if I stayed there long enough, I could get enough of an education in it. But she was not consistently present. And then I found out that chemistry was a big part of the job, and it was like, woo, okay.
Yeah, I'm out the door. Yeah.
Not gonna do that.
Yeah, there's a lot of acid and bouncing and cleaning paper and all the things. So you had the children's book class, you read all the children's book and you got so excited, and then what happened?
So the problem with getting my degree in Minnesota was that people in Minnesota get library degrees from College St. Catherine, and then they find jobs in Minnesota and they hold on to them until they die.
Right.
There's no transfer. It's not like other parts of the country. So my husband got into Columbia Film School in New York, and all the people were like, oh, they actually hire librarians there. And I was like, what? Crazy talk.
Little known secret.
Yeah.
Biggest library. Yeah.
Well, and they told me, like, I interviewed for Staten Island because I had no sense of how the scale of New York City. It's not like I was going to have a car. And so I interviewed for Staten Island like 2 or 3 times. And I go into the HR department when I'm in New York for like a final interview. And the woman looks at me, she's like, wait, you live in Morningside Heights? And I'm like, yes. And she's like, would you like to work in Greenwich Village in what is essentially a castle? And look, it's in a picture book. This was my first library branch.
Oh my goodness.
It's the Jefferson Market Library. It looks like a castle. It's got gargoyles. It's got stained glass. It is the most beautiful branch in New York City, and I will fight anyone to the death to argue that. It is gorgeous, and that was my first job right there.
Oh my God, your first job was there in a castle in the middle of Greenwich Village. Yeah. All that gorgeousness, all that life. I love it. So what was your job?
I was a children's librarian. I literally walk in and they say to me, we need a children's librarian and we need a teen librarian. Which would you like to do? And I was like, at the time they had like a little space for the YA stuff, and then like an entire first floor for the children's. And I was like, children's, if you please. Yes, I would like. Yeah, I would like the children's. Yes,
I would like to work with the little and the big space little people.
Scared me at that point, and I had no interest in interacting with them in any way, shape, or form. So
yeah, and that's perfectly understandable. So you worked at that branch, and then you moved to walk us through your tenure at NYPL.
My life has essentially been Betsy stumbles luckily into things. So as I say, I went to that branch. Normally, a person would work under the already present children's librarian there for like 6 to 8 weeks, and would find you your own branch. I started to work there. She left, and then they just gave it to me, which I know made people upset, who were like, I'm sorry. She literally just walks in the door. I've been waiting years for that position. And then she's like, hello. This is a nice branch. I'll take it. And so, I got it. And then they were going to renovate, and we would have to go somewhere else. So we would apply for places to work. Well, the biggest children's room of New York Public Library is the central children's room. And that's where the biggest reference collection was. And all 5 librarians, all they had to do was work the children's desk all day long. You don't have to fill in on the adult desk. It was like, oh, the dream. They had an opening, and I applied for it, and I didn't get it. And I was like, okay, that's fine. And then 2 weeks later, my boss comes to me. He's like, are you going to the central children's room? I was like, I don't think so. He's like, well, they just called me and said someone else was leaving and that they're just giving it to you. And I was like, nice. And I got into like the biggest children's room of New York City. So I'm like, oh my goodness, this is neat. And I swear this was always like 2 years, less than 2 years. I was not at Jefferson Market that long, maybe a year and a half or something. And then this sort of happened. So now I'm at like the biggest children's room in the entire city. And so I turned my beady little eyes on like, what's the next thing I want? And I was like, look, there is a position where you buy all the children's books for New York Public Library. Just one person does this.
Oh.
I want that job. Now that job belonged to somebody who'd been in the job for quite some time. So I was like, patience, biding my time. And so I was in the best children's room and I was having a wild, wonderful time. And I think I was in that position for 4 years. And then I got pregnant, I went on maternity leave, and I got an email while I'm on maternity leave saying, hey, that person's retiring, you should probably apply. And I was like, what? And so I applied. Yeah. And when I got back, I interviewed, and then they gave it to me. I was like,
oh my goodness.
So now
Yay.
I'm in the big library with the stone lions on a floor where I was buying all the children's books for Manhattan, Staten Island, and the Bronx. And not Brooklyn.
Holy cow.
Yeah, so that was cool. I was like, hello, I have my dream job. Now, the first day I start, my boss sits me down and is like, we want to help you get where you want to be. And I had to really keep myself from being like, I'm where I want to be. I'm here. I don't want to be anywhere else. This is actually the top. This is the tippity top. Don't want to run all of children's services. That doesn't look like fun. I want to buy all the stuff. That's what I want to do. I want to stay right here, right here, right here.
Yeah.
And I did.
Yeah. But you kind of probably just had a straight face and didn't say any of that because you didn't want to give away that
I
excitement.
think what she was saying was she wanted me to eventually be the head of children's services. And I was not, I'm not a leader in that way. I don't manage people. I manage things like books.
Yes.
Yeah. I can manage. So yeah, that worked out just fine. And then eventually we decided we were going to leave New York City, and it was really hard to find another job because usually in these situations, as it happened to me, they hire internally. Yeah. They just hire internally, and they'll get people from outside the system, but that's a lot of work to bring another person in. So I was interviewing at like Multnomah, and I was interviewing at like Hennepin County, and I was interviewing at all these different places, and each time they'd be very polite and they'd interview me, and then they'd hire someone else. And I got this close to being the children's librarian for the state of Vermont, which that was a weird one where I would have worked for the state, driving to different remote Vermont libraries to support their children's librarians, living in Montpelier, which has a population, fun fact, of 8,000.
Holy cow.
Smallest state capital in the United States. So I would have gone from Manhattan to 8,000 people. That was fun.
Yeah.
And it was between me and another person, and she had an education degree and I did not. And it was like a bullet past the ear. It was like, oh my gosh, if I had taken that, I think I would have been miserable. I think. I'm not sure. But I have a pretty clear sense I might have been miserable. It was a cool job, but I don't like driving at night, and I don't care driving at mountains. And the entire job would have been consisted on driving on icy roads at night on mountains. So maybe not the best job for me to apply
So
for.
do you think, thinking back on that, if they had offered it to you, would you have maybe not taken it?
I think I would have taken it because I remember how disappointed I was when I didn't get it. It was only later when I look back at it and I was like, oh, shoot. That would have been bad.
That would have been bad. So how did you end up in Evanston? How did we get so lucky to have you come here for Evanston Public Library? I remember, and I also want to mention that you are the collections manager. So you buy all the books. Like you buy
Which was not specialty. I had heard they wrote books for adults. That was a rumor. I knew people who bought them. I was not familiar. I was familiar with their work, but it was not my thing. So eventually,
I just have to say that makes me laugh. That just makes me laugh, and I appreciate.
I'm familiar with their work.
I'm familiar, but whatever.
Whatever. Like apparently, like adults read too. Whatever. I wouldn't know. I only read children's books, so. I was friends, because of my children's books and everything, I was friends with a YA author named James Kennedy, who had written a book, Order of Odd Fish. Now, James Kennedy has run the 92nd Newbery Film Festival, and if you're unfamiliar with it, you must when you're done here, because basically, kids make 90-second films of Newbery books, Newbery Award and honor books. and the films are amazing. Like everything from like film done entirely with Minecraft, Ramona and Her Father done as a noir.
Oh, cool.
It's they're done with claymation, and here's one with Legos, and here's like 500 different oh, thank you, Maria, for putting that in the chat there. 500 different versions of The Giver. Like The Giver, like the number one they do. Musicals, just amazing films these kids make. So anyway, I was friends with James, and James's wife, Heather Norberg, was a librarian at Evanston Public Library, and said to he said to me, he was like, by the way, my wife says there's this opening at Evanston Public Library for the head of all collections. And I'm like, well, but it was tempting because my parents live in Michigan, my brother lives in Chicago, my sister was living in LA at the time, but if she moved back, she'd move to Chicago. I was like, and I grew up in the Midwest, so I was like, this is
Tempting.
Okay. I can change my job. I can do this thing. Okay, because obviously, being the head of a huge systems children's collection was just not happening for me.
Yeah.
So I went off and I interviewed. I flew out. I interviewed. I did a whole point presentation and the whole works. And they hired me. By gum, they hired me.
By
and I've been
gum.
here ever since.
Yeah. So how hard was it for you to transition to buying only children's to be buying nonfiction and adult fiction? And you help Renee with the YA collection too, right?
A little bit, but that's mostly Renee.
Yeah.
But I know YA better in some ways than adult, or at least I did. So, we use something called Baker and Taylor, where this company will create little virtual carts of the new upcoming books and with the reviews for each one. So you can read the reviews and you can kind of determine whether or not a book is something that you might want to buy for your system or not. Now, anytime you begin a job, you don't know the community, you don't know their reading habits. So, it was kind of a shaky start at the beginning, just trying to figure things out. But as I've been in the job longer and longer, I know what this town will read, what they won't read. Anything about sports, they don't like sports. Sports books, not fun. Biographies of musicians, if there's a Chicago connection, maybe. If they're like super duper famous, yeah, but not so much. But that biographies of people no one's ever heard of, not so much. Memoirs aren't huge, but other things they really, really love. So slowly kind of got a sense for what they do and do not read, and it was learning on the job to a certain extent.
And so it's kind of like you're looking at all of the analytics of what is being checked out all the time and going through that process as well.
It is. Well, also,
yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Oh, well, we have a program that actually helps me with this. It's called ESP. It can predict, based on your borrowers, like of your library's history, how likely they are to buy any given title that you're thinking of buying. So it will rank each book that you want to buy and say, this one people are very likely to check out, and this one maybe not so much. I take it with a grain of salt. It has its problems, but I found it very helpful, particularly with items from like, I don't know if this will do well, and then the system will be like, oh no, your town hates anything about aliens, like hates alien books, like loathes them, will not do anything with them, so don't buy it.
Do not buy an alien book for
do not buy the alien book. It's
so
tempting.
That was
pretty. Stop.
Yeah, that was actually one of my questions that I had prepared here for you. What do we like to read here in Evanston? And then how do you know what to purchase for the library's collection? So I want to actually refine that question because you've already answered it. But what about fiction? What kinds of fiction do you notice adult readers choosing most?
Fiction's very easy. All you have to do is know what NPR is talking about at any given time. And the next day after it runs, we will get a ton of holds on it. Evanston's chock full of fiction lovers who listen to NPR. Yeah. So there's this really cool daily list I get. I think it's not Bookshelf. I'll have to give it to you later for people if they want it. It's from Library Journal. And basically, it's a rundown of all the places where books have gotten major reviews. So like the Washington Post and New York Times. But it also talks about, here's who NPR was talking to. Here's who was on Colbert. Here's who was on The Late Show. at promoting their book. Here's the latest news items about these books that are coming out. These are the books that are now being adapted into TV shows, which you may or may not want to, buy for your collection. It is so helpful. It is essential to the job. And so, basically I use that a lot. And I find, Washington Post, New York Times, NPR, not the New Yorker so much, the books in there sometimes, but generally, and also people send in their requests and I find out where they're reading about things. I always have like a couple people who are like, this was in the Guardian. And I'm like, the Guardian is not American. We do not have that book. And they're like, you should buy it. And I'm like, it is in England. I cannot buy a book in England and just put it in my collection. Wait for it to come here.
So
they get
hard
kind of
for
like,
us to be, it's hard for us to be
love the
patient,
mysteries.
though. Yes.
Oh, yeah. The mysteries just, I mean, we try to weed them, but it's like 10 books and the rest of them all stay because people just are constantly reading the mysteries. And then, of course, this year with the COVID-19, people have really, really been getting into their ebooks. So the ebooks are just, skyrocketing. So that's been affecting my buying quite a bit. Yeah. And, audiobooks, of course, e-audio in particular, very popular.
So walk us through, because we have at Evanston Public Library have the two apps for ebooks and for e-audiobooks that you just mentioned, Hoopla and Libby. Walk us through how those are different for your purchasing and how those work differently for our patrons, because they do. Walk us through those a little bit. And so for those of you who are not here from Evanston, and I know a lot of you are our regular librarian. I call her our artist book house librarian is Maria, who dropped that into the chat because she tends to do that whenever anything is coming up that's a question and somebody mentions something, she'll drop it into the chat because she rocks. And she's in Milwaukee. But so for other people, check and see if your library has these apps, and they might handle them differently, but our apps are called Hoopla and Libby. So talk us through that just really quickly. Then I want to get to the tour because I want to see all your goodies.
I have many goodies. I should tell you that your library probably has one of the two. If the only other one is, I think, 3M. Some people do their own personal ones as well, but generally speaking, it's kind of a monopoly. You're either going to be Hoopla or you're going to be Overdrive, and the Libby is called, the app is called Libby. Just to confuse you, we also call it Digital Library of Illinois. Just put a third in there, just get it all confused. So Hoopla is one word, very simple, from the company that we buy all our DVDs from. So again, very simple. Hoopla, we do not choose anything that's on there. They do all the selection themselves. Yeah. And we have access to the things that they select. They're okay on ebooks. They're much better on e-audiobooks. Yes. They're great on comics. They're on TV shows and movies. They're okay, not great. But they're very good on e-audio things. And what people love about them is that you go in, you see something you want, you can check it out right away. Yeah. I say that, but we have a limit on how many things can be checked out in a given day. If a ton of people already checked out stuff, you're going to get a message saying, sorry, can't check out today. And you're going to have to wait till midnight and then check it out, or first thing the next morning. And that does happen. That has not happened as much lately though. No, Libby/Overdrive. And we handled that in different ways. Libby/Overdrive is different. And basically, it is a much bigger selection. I can buy things for that. So people will send in requests and say, hey, I would like this ebook or this e-audiobook. And I can be like, I will get that for you. I can't right now because we spent out all our 2020 funds. Sorry, but in 2021, by gum, I can buy it for you. And you can send in requests through the site. You usually have to wait in line. Not always. There are options that you can do where you can tell it only show me the things that are available right now. And also we have what we call a lucky day collection, where certain books I've designated can't have holds on them and they'll just sort of pop up. So if you ever go through there and you find a section that's there's a what's new, but there's also I think it either says lucky day or what's available right now. And if you click on that, like really popular stuff that I bought just for people who want to read it like right then, that'll show up. So
Oh my
it's a
God.
fun app. I like it a lot.
Yeah, I had
but
no
yeah, but
idea.
you gotta wait sometimes. So
Yeah, I usually am like number 35 on 2 copies of whatever audiobook, but I love that. I had no idea that there was that special
look for it.
option. I'm
Oh
so
yeah, yeah. You
excited.
gotta look for it.
I am so excited. Okay, in the chat, Elizabeth is saying Evanston is the
Ah,
most diverse place I've lived. Does our library collection represent that? The kids and teen sections, and I'm so excited for you to answer this one, Betsy, because
that's a good one.
I know
All right.
the answer.
So here's the thing. First thing, we just released our 101 Great Books for Kids list for 2020. It is a wildly diverse list. I am very happy with how it turned out this year. You should check it out. If you just Google 101 Great Books for Kids 2020, it'll come right up. You'll be able to see the list. It is excellent. Now, as to the collections, this is a big question for libraries everywhere. Are the library collections equitable? Have we done equity assessments on them? And the way that I tackle this is a very kind of different way. A lot of the time it'll be like, well, to do an equity assessment, you literally take every single book, write down, you know, the race of the person who wrote it, or if they're differently abled or LGBTQ or any of that. And then you can get a sense, well, we have a collection of 475,000 items, which is being weeded constantly and added to constantly. So what I've chosen to do is I keep track of every single Black, Latinx, and Indigenous author that I purchase for the library. And then what I can do is I can go through that list and I can buy them in ebook and e-audiobook and large print and a physical audiobook, things that get completely missed a lot of the time by authors. At the same time, when I'm weeding the collection, Black authors, Indigenous authors, Latinx authors, they get a 10-year pass. So if a book years, then I might weed it if they're one of those authors. In the meantime, I put them on display constantly so that those books will not get weeded. And right now, I think we've got a display of Read Black mystery authors.
Yep.
That's on the second floor. We've got a display of Decolonize Your Bookshelves. We've got Indigenous authors. I've got a display of those. I'm always doing different types of things with these. Also, we have just started a collection advisory group of Black Evanstonians. So this is 6 Black Evanstonians who live in town who are joining me to help me reassess the collections, look at the collections, figure out how to help me with collection development. We're doing a great job. We're talking about a Black Literary Festival at some point. We're talking about a separate section of the Evanstonia room. We're talking pairing with a Black bookstore called Afroware Books, so we can start purchasing from them and supporting local Black businesses. So they are fantastic. And if we finally figure out how this works, because I've never heard of a group like this before, so we're kind of like just playing it by ear as we go, then we can extend it to maybe doing a Latinx group and maybe other things as well. So yeah, we're trying all sorts of stuff right now.
Yeah, working really hard to make the library collection represent Evanston at its finest diversity. I love that. Okay, so let me switch a little bit and look at one of my questions, which might lead you to our actual tour of your awesomeness, of your really incredible goodies over there at your house. You've met some pretty famous people according to your bio. Was Winnie the Pooh your favorite? And was he fairly easy to work with or kind of a pain is the question. And then I would like to also know the story of your favorite encounter with an author or illustrator. And it can be from your whole life. It doesn't have to be from librarian time.
Okay, I got it. So first of all, Winnie the Pooh, to explain, the Winnie the Pooh books were written by A.A. Milne. He had an actual son named Christopher Robin, right? Christopher Robin really did own these stuffed animals: Winnie the Pooh, Piglet, Tigger, Kanga, and Roo, and Eeyore. So 6 in total. In the course of owning these, Roo got lost in the woods. Okay, so there were 5. These were owned by Christopher Robin, who resented the books in time, because his name was freaking Christopher Robin, and you can't get away from that. He gave them eventually to the publisher, Dutton. They were kept in the offices for some time. Then Dutton donated them to New York Public Library, where they were placed on. So I worked with literally the original Winnie the Pooh toys for a very long time, because I worked with them in the Central Children's Room. And then when we moved to the Children's Center at 42nd Street, they moved with us. They were always on display. So I had many, many adventures with these. I'll tell you one of them. Woman comes in, looks at Winnie the Pooh. She says, oh, my grandmother had a doll exactly like that, and it had a music box in the tummy. And we were like, what? And she's like, yeah, it was in the tummy. And let's check it out. Also, I should say, someone at Dutton told me, oh yeah, we restuffed him at one point because they were getting sloppy. And we did, and we found there was a music box in Winnie the Pooh's tummy. We left it there and then just restuffed him. So I tell this to my boss, and he's like, let's check it out. And it was like CSI. We got the white gloves, and we opened the case, and we went, hoocha, 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 hoocha. So I have hoocha, hoocha, the tummy of Winnie the Pooh, which the conservators would tell you should not do to anything
like
and
that.
And then, because the door was already open, so I basically just went, touch, 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 touch. All the toys, I've touched. He might have a cross in his tummy. It's hard to tell. They put something really hard in his front and back, and it's really hard to tell if there is an actual music box there. I'm going to assume there is, but nobody knows what it is.
Are you going to, like, maybe they should x-ray him?
They should. I kept mentioning it to management, but they had no interest in. They had very little interest in Winnie the Pooh. But he's such a big draw that they gave him like a beautiful place. Now, of course, the children's room has moved across the street. I don't know if Winnie's with them or not. I haven't made it to New York to see
Winnie the Pooh. Oh my goodness!
They just moved
so
August. I think. So,
oh, okay. So
he's either over there or he's still in the main building. I don't know which.
Did you want to show us anything? And while we're walking to see something, or do you have it right there with you?
I have some with me. So recently, thanks to the COVID situation, I've been able to stay at home and participate in children's trivia contests. And the prize for winning the last one was one piece of original art by Melissa Sweet. Melissa Sweet, Caldecott honor winner. She did a book on William Carlos Williams. She's fantastic. And so my husband also participated, so we got two. So this is the fruit fly. This is actual original art that we are meaning to at some point frame. Doesn't she do the best fruit flies? They're just the best.
Now, is this collage, or is it printed, or is it collage?
It is. No, it's cut paper. This is cut paper
collage.
And you can, I don't know if, how well you can see, but you can see it's cut paper collage. It's pencils. It's all sorts of stuff. So that was one, and the other one is this termite.
Oh my goodness!
He's just the best. I absolutely love him.
These are so gorgeous. Lucky you.
I don't tend to get much original art in my house, but I do tend to get a couple of weird things. So let me see if I can show you some of them. So first and foremost, this is a book cover that was turned into a poster. So Phil Nell is one of the best children's scholars in the country. And this is a book that he wrote. It is a story of Crockett Johnson and Ruth Krause. Now, if the style looks interesting, it's supposed to sort of replicate Crockett Johnson's style. He did Harold and the Purple Crayon. And in fact, those are all his characters and her characters around them. But it's actually by Chris Ware.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
An artist house favorite.
Yeah, I don't usually have posters of other people's books in my home, but I loved this one so much. It's just so lovely and noir, and if you can see, the FBI is trying to peek in the side door there because they got in trouble with the FBI at one point. And yeah, so it's just, I just love it. Now I'm going to take you where. Well, I guess I'll take you on right over here too.
This is it.
So this is a piece that appeared in the New York Times by Art Spiegelman when Sendak died.
Oh,
and
my
so
goodness.
This is a print that his wife Francois Mouly sent me, and it's so great. It is kind of weird to have a big naked man in my dining room. But
sure,
you know what? It's cool. We're fine with it.
That's great.
And I wish I had another actual piece by this artist. I do not. But if you're familiar with The Arrival by Sean Tan, it's an amazing piece. So this is a poster, and he did sign it. And in the little bottom, you can't really see it, but in the little bottom, he drew his little creature saying, "Hi, Betsy."
Oh, cute.
So actually, it's cute. So I'm gonna take you on, we basically have most of the art in a hallway leading up the stairs, partly because they don't get touched as much by actual light. Sophie Blackall wrote a book called The Baby Tree. And for a while there, she was just sending people babies.
Oh, that's great.
So that is an original piece of art there. And then, I don't know if you're familiar with Press Here by Hervé Toulet.
Yes, of course.
Yes, so this, he's probably getting faded. I probably shouldn't have it in the light like this, but it's just so colorful. It's such a fun thing to see.
That's great.
So this one was kind of interesting. Li Wen Pham, I'm a huge fan of her work. She won a Caldecott honor just this last year, and she did illustrations for the Alvin Ho series about a little boy who's scared of everything. It's early chapter books. Well, she sent me this, and I thought it was just a cool print from the book.
Yeah.
Then I took a closer look, and I realized, no, that's the art from the book.
Oh my goodness.
It was staining through the back. The pens had stained through the back, and I had this like horrible realization that I came this close to throwing out a piece of
the original art. Oh my goodness.
Yes. So
wow.
that would not have been good. Brian Floca, he won the Caldecott for Locomotive. He's the nicest man in the world. And some artists, I can tell you, do not want you to own their art. They will do anything in their power not to, like, if they'll go to a school and they'll sketch for the kids, and then they will rip it up afterwards so that their art is not out, so it's worth future. Not Brian. In fact, Brian, so first of all, you can see there's a picture of an astronaut doing a timeout symbol. That's because I mentioned his book, Moonshot, to timeout kids. So the guy's doing timeout. Isn't that cute? This other one was from Locomotive. I gave it a good review, and I said I really liked the one of the guys in there, and I liked the prairie dog. So he drew the guy and the prairie dog. And then when I was moving to Evanston, he drew this picture of it's Patience and Fortitude moving. Of course, Patience and Fortitude being the library lions.
That's beautiful. Oh my goodness.
So I framed all three because he's just this feller. Also
That's
a nice feller is Dan Fantat. This was a sketch he must have done for Oh No, How My Science Project Almost Destroyed the World. And you can still see the blue sketch lines that he's got in there. Yeah, he sent that to me. Yeah. And then over here, Mark Allen Stamati. So Mark Allen Stamati, he's done some children's books that I've just loved. He did Who Needs Donuts, which is a cult classic. Well, he's also done a lot of stuff for adults. This is Bob Forehead. He did a series called Watching Tunes. Bob Forehead was a character. He did the book section of the back of the New York Times book review section for a while. My husband was a huge fan. We knew him in New York, and he created this for my husband, which we absolutely love. It's so nice of him.
That's great. I love how you have this hallway of art in your home that's like Betsy Bird collection gallery.
It is. It's very easy to show off to people too, because they never have to see my upstairs. So Mo Willems is one of those guys you're not going to own a piece of Mo art. Mo is very careful with how his art is made. However, one time I was nice to him about something on my blog, and he sent me, you can tell he cares, because he not only he made me a pigeon that says "You flatter me," and he dated it, and he stamped it, or did he sign it? He did sign it as well. So yeah, and then he also doodles everywhere he goes. So if he doodles, I steal what he doodles. And this was a guy at the Eric Carle Awards. He just randomly was just doodling that. Then he just drops it on the table and yoink! I grabbed that. There's no proof
you got that. I love it.
But there's no proof that he did it. He didn't sign it. He didn't stamp it. He didn't date it. It's not worth anything. But I just love it. He's just a great guy. I
know, and look at that butterfly bow tie is cool.
I know. Well, that's the Eric Carle. It's the Eric Carle Award. So that's
I know. I love it. That's so great.
Yeah, it's the program in there somewhere. Yeah. So this is David Soman. He's probably best known for the Ladybug Girl books.
Yeah.
And he did a book called Three Bears in a Boat, which, if you haven't seen it, his watercolors are breathtaking. He is an amazing artist. This is a sketch for that book, just a random watercolor sketch. Didn't make it into the final book. And I loved that book because it's got a reference to Go Dog Go in it that I was so pleased to get. It's a really obscure joke. But this is just his three little bears. And you can see he does water like nobody else. The man is amazing.
And that's a sketch.
Yeah. Okay, long ago, Jeff Kinney was not famous. Diary of a Wimpy Kid comes out, nobody pays attention to it. I gave it a really nice review. And he was so nice. And I mentioned that this was my favorite joke in the book. So he sends me this piece of art that he just drew for me in pencil of my favorite joke from the book. Then later he kind of picked up a little bit. I don't know. I hear this, let me see if I can get a shot of this. Okay, so that's me. I was doing a panel in New York, and in the audience was Paul Zelinsky. And he sketches everyone. So in this, you'll actually see he's got an Ed Young, he's got a David Almond, he's got a couple, you can see the David Almond pretty clearly. He's got a couple people in there. And then he drew this of me, and he said, oh, you kind of look like Madame X in that, famous painting. And I was like, give it to me! Give me my face! Again, not signed. It's not signed or anything, but I know it's me, and I know he did it, and I guess it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
This was also done of me. This is by Nathan Hale, who does Nathan Hale's Hazardous Tales.
Yes.
I had dinner with him, and while we were having dinner, he just drew that of me. It's much more attractive than I am, but I will take it. And so, and that he did sort of in the corner there. And then this is my prized possession. This is maybe my most beloved possession. This is from a book by Miss Khan, whose first name, I'm tired. I can't remember her first name right now. I'm so sorry. It's Big Red Lollipop, and Sophie Blackhall did the art. Two-time Caldecott Award winner Sophie Blackhall did the art. It is probably, I always consider it, Roxana, thank you, Junko. My brain's not working. Roxana Khan, who is just amazing. If you're trying to find classic Muslim picture books, I consider this a classic Muslim picture book. It is. And
what is the name of it? It's Big Red Lollipop?
Big Red Lollipop. Big Red Lollipop is one of my favorite picture books. I put it, when I was at New York Public Library, on a 100 years, 100 books list. Like, name the top 100 children's books of the last 100 years.
Wow.
And I put it on there because we needed some Muslim representation, for doggone it. And as a thank you, Sophie sends me an actual piece of art from the book, which just, floored me. It was amazing.
Oh my goodness.
Now, this may not look like a piece of children's literature art. It's a really cool quilt. This was made by Laura Amy Schlitz, who won the Newbery for Good Masters, Sweet Ladies, when my first child was born. And I display that puppy because it is gorgeous. We used to use it as a quilt and then decided quickly not to.
Yeah, because babies throw up and, get things on things.
And my husband's best friend would flop on it like it was on purpose or something. I don't know. This is Molly Idle. She won a Caldecott honor for Flora and the Flamingo. And she does birds and flora all the time. Well, I happened to mention to her that my favorite bird is the kookaburra because it laughs. So she drew this sketch of Flora with a kookaburra, to which I said, may I please have that, please, please, please? And she sent it to me because she is the nicest human being ever born.
Betsy, I can't tell you how much I'm enjoying his tour. I
don't get to brag about this stuff that often, so I'm very happy.
I know, but it's just so lovely because it not only is it showing us all of this great artwork, but it's showing us your love for the people that make the books. I'm getting this palpable sense of the honor and joy and gratitude that you have for these authors and illustrators. So I appreciate that.
They're amazing.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
Thank you.
They're amazing.
Yeah.
Okay. So I think this is one of the last ones that I have on display anyway. So as I say, I have a blog. It's called A Fuse Number 8 Production. And sometimes artists make me stuff for that. In particular, Catherine Tillotson, for a while, was consistently giving me amazing stuff. So I don't know how well I can get this in here. So this was a little fuse man. He's actually made out of fuse number 8, the thing that my blog is named after. And it says, "Happy birthday, Fusey." She also did this. She has a book out this year that she illustrated of the Three Billy Goats Gruff. It's one of the most beautiful renditions of that fairy tale I've ever seen. Again, her name's Catherine Tillotson. And there again, he's got a little head of a fuse there. And,
I love it.
And
Oh,
he's
that's
done.
great.
So,
That
yeah.
is fantastic.
I have a couple other things, but they're in like public places and people are being loud, so I'm not gonna.
Yeah, you have
gonna
some
bother with those.
school children doing their school children things.
Exactly, with their distance learning and such. So yeah.
Yeah. So we only have a few, like about 12 more minutes, but I have some more questions for you if you want to get comfortable.
Sure.
Oh my gosh, I have several questions for you. We're not going to get to them all, but let me think here. Okay, so you're also a writer. How do you balance full-time librarianship, ordering all of these books for the entire town of Evanston and Chicago and Skokie patrons who have their cards here at Evanston as well? How do you balance librarianship with writing? And then
poorly.
Oh,
sorry. Is there more that I'm supposed to be saying?
Yeah, I have a second question, a follow-up to that, which do deadlines help you or make you procrastinate more?
Oh, I love deadlines. Deadlines are fantastic because ever since I was a child, I'm desperately afraid of ever being in trouble. A deadline says to you, if you break this, you're in trouble, which means I can get stuff done. If I'm not given a deadline, I will never get the thing done because I won't get in trouble. That's what how my brain operates. So I have to have that threat of trouble, and then I can get stuff done. It's marvelous. It's very difficult. Ooh, I will answer that. What are you reading now in a second? It's very difficult to find time to write because I have a full-time blog. Which, 4 out of 4 or 5 nights of the week, that's what I'm working on. On the weekends, I'm too pooped to do anything. Plus, I got a family and another job, and I got review for Kirkus, and I do a lot of stuff. So, writing articles. So basically, writing kind of has to take place. I can take off and work from home, kind of, or I can. I like to take writing retreats. I can't take them now that COVID's happening. Generally, I would take out. There's a great place in Michigan called the Gilchrist Retreat, where you can just take out a house, you bring your own food, it's lovely, there's beautiful woods to walk through, and it's supposed to be a spiritual retreat, but they don't mind, they get a lot of writers. And I just go there, take it out for 3-4 days, and I just plug out that writing. It's fantastic. I would love to get back to the Highlights Foundation, to their retreat, which is a wonderful place to write. I absolutely adore it. But I have not had a chance to do that yet. And so that's the only time I really get much of a chance to write, thanks to the blog.
Yeah. I mean, you're writing for the blog, but you're not writing fiction.
Yeah, and it's writing, so
it's writing,
skilled,
so you get that. Yeah, but it's not the same.
Writing creatively is very different, and it needs its own space, and I just can't do it. It's hard. It's very hard. I have 2 novels I'd like to write right now, but I cannot do it because I ain't got the time.
Are you able to take notes and sort of jot down ideas and do that?
You see my notes. See my poor little cell phone and all the little notes that I have there. I've got notes. I've got a very patient agent. And then I do have some books that I'm kind of working on. One with an illustrator who is just fantastic. We'll see if anything comes of it. It'll be hilarious if it becomes real, but yeah, we'll see.
Nice. Yeah. Okay, so back to Elizabeth's question in the chat. What are you currently reading?
From the desk of Zoe Washington, which is a middle grade novel. It's on our 101 Great Books for Kids list. I had not had a chance to read it yet. I am discovering I am also having a hard time reading novels right now because I read a lot of picture books, and I'm trying to get all the picture books done before December that were published in 2020. It's not going to happen, but I'm trying to get as many as I can. My real reading time is at lunch, so I've been doing audiobooks while I do my walk in the morning. And the audiobook for Zoe Washington is great. In fact, I've been using Hoopla and Libby for my e-audiobooks, and it's great. So I'm reading Dreamweaver at the same time that I'm listening to Zoe Washington. And they're both pretty darn good. Plus, I've got a bunch of graphic novels that I'm finishing. So yeah, there's a lot of stuff I'm reading right now. Yeah,
there's a lot of stuff, and I love. I also listen to a lot of audiobooks when I'm on runs or walks or driving somewhere. Which, of course, right now I'm not going anywhere except for a mile away if I go to the library. But it's a really good way of getting that story in while you're doing something else that's not taking your time or your full attention. What advice would you give to someone? And I asked Maria this during her corner tour, and she had some really good advice. And I'm curious, because you are the collections librarian, what advice would you give to someone who wanted to build their own personal library at home? And what books do you recommend that people own in their own personal libraries? I think she froze. Oh no.
Oh no. Did I?
Oh, you froze for a second. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
That's okay.
I'm just saying, this is my son's bookshelf.
Oh.
That's not. Here, I'll show you. My daughter's in her room. I won't bother her. She's got tons of bookshelves. And then, of course, this is my bedroom. So every bedroom in this house is just loaded with bookshelves.
Yeah, of course.
Generally what I do is I just determine which books I like the most of the year, and those are the ones that I either purchase or keep. I don't know if there's a system to it necessarily. For building your own personal library depends on what you're interested in, of course. If your interest is children's books, find the best of list. So I would honestly, you end up with a lot of books that you don't necessarily like if you just trust the list and just buy them. So I'd say go to your local library, check out the books, see if there's something you actually want to read. And if you actually your local independent bookstore, why here in town we have Books, which specializes in children's literature, and we have Bookends and Beginnings, which is a fantastic selection of world language children's literature, should you want something in another language. So check those puppies out. Get your books there.
Yeah, I love that. Thank you. And how are your books organized at home?
Poorly. Again, they're sort of organized. You can see I'm in the graphic novel section right now. We're working on it. We recently added another bookshelf because we had like a weird gappy space on the side. Generally, my books that I pay the most attention to are downstairs. Heck, I'll show you where they are.
Take us down.
I'll take you down to. So we just installed new bookshelves downstairs. So because half the books were in boxes somewhere. And if you go in here we go. So these are brand new. We just got them. And so all my children's literature academic titles are on these top shelves here. And then lower, let's see, cookbooks. And then down here, these are all the 2020 novels that I'm going to finish. No, I'm not. They're going to be cleaned up pretty soon. And there's a couple 2021s, I should say. So, for example, I've got a couple cool 2021s. Like, here's the new Laura Amy Schlitz title, Amber and Clay. That's coming out. Yes, and toilet paper, because we're technically in the bathroom. Yes, so Amber and Clay is the new Laura Amy Schlitz title that's coming out. Nice. I have to highly promote this new series, The Case of Unsolved Files. This is a nonfiction series. This is the successful hijacking, escape at 10,000 feet that happened with the D.B. Cooper. Yeah. It's like the graphic novel version of it. It's so good. So good.
Oh, I love it.
And then there's a couple 2021 picture books that I've read where I've just been like, well, I need to hold on to that. This is Over the Shop. John Arno Lawson wrote it, but it's Canadian, but it is just so good. So yeah.
Oh, I love it. And if you are ever in need of finding a home for any of those books that are the adult fiction, I will be happy to take everything off your hands.
Good to know.
I am your person. And there's also on Facebook, there's a new group that started when the library was completely shut down called Evanston Book Swap. I don't know if you're aware of that one, and people can post books that they're looking for or books that they're trying to get rid of. I know I had gone over to Elizabeth's house at one point to get a book. I can't remember which one it was, but it's a really great exchange of books. It's really fun to
Well,
do.
if I could show you I have a little free library.
Oh,
that is definitely. I don't think my Wi-Fi is going to stretch there, so I won't take
that's
you to it. But
okay.
I don't have a hard time getting rid of books. I'll just say that.
Yeah, no, that's perfectly good too. Little free libraries are the best. Betsy, I want to thank you so much for being here today. I have had such a fun time talking with you and walking through your house.
Thank you.
Hi again. Thank you so much for watching this week's Quarren Tour. We really appreciate your support. If you want to learn more about our guest from today, please read the description below. And if you'd like to support more programming like this, coming from Artist Bookhouse, please visit our website at artistbookhouse.org/donate. Thank you again for joining us.